All right, everybody, welcome out to the Log Room Guys Craft Beer Show. It is Tuesday, May the 17th, 2022. Jersey Johnny coming at you. With me, as always, is none other than Mr. Beer Samurai. Say hello, Mr. Samurai. Mr. Samurai's got food in his mouth.
There's a big dumpling.
Those of you that do not know, Mr. Samurai never eats on the show, ever.
Never. This is a rarity.
That's a rarity.
These are actually good dumplings.
So you're eating dumplings on the show.
Yeah, dumplings.
The Beer Samurai is eating dumplings with chopsticks. Go figure.
With chopsticks.
Imagine that.
You do know I'm like very slightly Chinese.
Very slightly.
My mother's father.
Mother's father's, third roommates, cousins, uncles, boss.
Mistress.
Exactly.
No, I've got what are these? Shrimp, pork, and mushroom.
Shrimp, pork, and mushroom.
That way I didn't have to go mushroom hunting myself.
There you go. And why would you have had to go mushroom hunting today?
Because it's National Mushroom Hunting Day.
It's National Mushroom Hunting Day.
Don't you know nothing?
Apparently I don't. So.
That way you do. I told you that about 3 hours ago.
I'm aware. Right. Sorry, buddy. Happy National Mushroom Hunting Day, everybody.
It's national.
Today is, there's always like a plethora of days, right?
Yeah.
So we come on the show and we talk about 2 or 3, and there's like 30 others.
Yeah.
Today just happens to be one that there's like nothing.
Well, we've got a few there, but nothing that really applied to the show. National Pinot Grigio Day.
Right. What does that have to do with beer? Right.
It's a beer show. Cherry Cobbler Day. Now, had we had like Blair Snort on the show, who makes a lot of pastry stouts,
or Imprint for that matter, or 450 North, or something along those lines.
Yeah, all those. Sure. That would have been appropriate.
Of course.
What was the other one? There's another one I told you about. I got the
National Walnut Day.
Oh, Walnut Day.
Yep.
So
happy Cherry Cobbler and happy Walnut Day for those of you that celebrate cherry cobbler.
But don't go mushroom hunting yourself unless you know what you're doing.
Right.
You don't want to get like a death cap for your cutie and poison her.
You don't want to do that. That would just be a bad thing.
Because you can get one.
Go ahead. No, you're gonna say.
Because those look like the death caps look a little like, what do they call them? Honey caps or something like that. And those are delicious.
Sure. And you really don't know unless you're
you got a taster, then you go, here, try this.
Yeah, really. Exactly.
And then see what happens.
Trust me. Taste this. Yeah. But do you ever see the movie with Tenacious D, Pick of Destiny?
No.
Never saw it?
No.
Yeah, one part of the movie, they have Jack Black and Kyle Gass have an argument, right? And Jack Black takes off, and he's hungry. They were going to eat, and then they had an argument, so he never got to eat. So he goes walking through the woods, and he's like, he's whatever, and he sits down, stumbles down, he sits down next to a tree. And he's sitting down, and he's like, I'm hungry. I'm just going to have a few of these mushrooms. And he just starts eating the mushrooms, and all of a sudden he goes on a trip. Yeah.
On a trip. Yeah, It's a good trip.
It's good, yeah. So, but anyway, so we have a guest today, as we do each week.
Well, most weeks.
Most weeks.
Just
a few we don't, but most of the
vast majority of the weeks.
So let's bring him on without further ado. How about we do?
No more ado, because I need to drink something now.
All right. Yeah, I'm thirsty myself.
I'm going to crack mine while you bring them on.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Robert Tarves to the show from Our Town Brewery in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And I said that right, Rob? Lancaster?
You did. Yeah, you nailed it. Not Lancaster.
It's not Lancaster. It's Lancaster.
Yeah, Lancaster.
I thought the Lancaster was a bomber in World War II.
That may very well have been.
You're saying National Walnut Day, by the way. Our brewery is it's on the corner of Prince and Walnut Street. So
there we go. It does apply.
So there was a connection there.
It did apply. So happy National Walnut Day.
John, you were there. You should have known this.
I knew it was on Prince Street. I just wasn't paying attention to the cross street. I parked on Prince, so I parked up the block and walked down, and then walked back to the car and left. I never was on Walnut. So, but welcome to the show, Rob.
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Glad you made it on. Definitely wanted to have you. Want to talk about your great brewery that I was fortunate enough to visit not too long ago, a couple months ago, and Beer Samurai has not gotten out there yet, but
not yet.
We have to get him out there. Mm-hmm. There's some good beer going on out in Lancaster. You guys got a good little scene there. I was really happy about it there. getting out and enjoying all of that. Let's crack our beers first. What are you drinking, Rob?
I have a pint of our Clarity, which is I'd say a West Coast IPA, but a little more modern riff on it. So it's Citra and Simcoe, but it has a lot of notes of like peach and it's a little more fruity than I think the true West Coast, style that, focus a little more on bitterness and some of the piney, earthy elements. But yeah, still crystal clear, real clean, nice and crisp, has some bitterness. So
nice.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Cheers. Samurai, what are you drinking?
Well, since our guest was from Pennsylvania and I didn't have anything from his brewery, I went with a brewery from Pennsylvania that we were at this weekend, some Human Robot, Polotamavi.
Human Robot. Have I ever been?
I think you've been there too.
Yeah, several times. Yeah.
Oh God, I love this beer. They call it.
Fortunately, it's only about a 40-minute ride for me. So.
Yeah,
nice.
Well, we were in Asbury over the weekend, as you know, and as long as we're further south of where we are, let's shoot west.
Shoot across.
So
there you go. So I had that when I was there. I was there a couple weeks ago. I was there
so good
the week before CBC, the week before Craft Brewers Conference. I was Jess and I took a ride out there. Went to just literally went into PA just for Human Robot and a couple of a few of the lagers and of course a Pose sandwich.
Oh, so good, man.
Oh, they're so good. It's ridiculous. And then came back to Jersey, went to Mechanical and over the new Tonewood spot. So it was good. That was a good day. I'm gonna be a self-serving whore right now because I can't get enough of this beer. I'm gonna crack one of these. It's gonna be the debut on the show too. So
yes,
there you go.
And if I could have hooked up with John while I was down there, maybe I would have had one. No.
Well, you could have. You were in Asbury, right by my house.
Yeah, I text you in the morning.
I
forgot. John doesn't get up till like 11.
It's because John doesn't go to sleep till like 4:30.
Oh, Jesus.
By 11, I was like half. I was in Philly at 11.
So, you were. Well, wasn't it like 11 and then it was like 12 and that was like 12:30 or something?
Oh, that's right. No, that's right. We had to make a few stops along the way.
Gotcha. What you call it? So yeah. So I'll crack this beer. This is Coastal Brewworks' inaugural offering. It's Building Sandcastles. I'll put the crawl up. There we go. It's a 5% NEPA, if you will.
Well, we've got to say goodnight to somebody before you go.
We got to say goodnight to somebody?
Yeah. Did you see the comments come up there?
I did not see the comments come up.
You got to pop that up there.
Let me pop them up.
Because the man who brews the beer that John just poured.
I did not think he was actually. Wow, it's like 12 o'clock out there.
I know that's why he's got to go to bed.
Cheers from Iceland. I paid $17 for a local bourbon barrel aged stout at a microbrewery here. At least it was solid. Headed to bed. And he said, "Matt, you're going to have to pronounce that for me when you get back. I have no idea."
Smidgen Brughaus Nebula.
Smidgen Brughaus Nebula. Is that the name of the beer? And I want to drink a Building Sandcastles. All right, Matt, I will drink a Building Sandcastles for you. You'll have plenty of it next week. We're doing 4 launch events next week, so. He'll have plenty of it then. But there's the beer right there. Yeah.
Cheers.
My camera's not pretty solid there, but cheers.
Cheers to you, Matt, man. The pictures you've been sending back are amazing.
Pictures are amazing, and Matt, this beer is amazing as well. So cheers, bud. Oh, there you go. How to do that. So, all right. Anyway, so enough about Coastal Brewworks, because I'm not on the show tonight. Rob is. So let's talk about R10 Brewer. What you call? First question we ask everybody. Doesn't matter. Straight out of the gate. Can you remember what the first craft beer, or kinda what the first craft beer you ever had was?
Wow. I can remember the bottle. It was I always screw this up because now I'm like it's the name of the can. I always want to say Wild Goose IPA, and it wasn't Goose Island, but it was. Yeah. Damn. I always blank it. It's not Goose Island. It's but it was just like brown bottle, paper label, and it was just bitter as all hell, in all the right ways. And
Gotcha.
my buddy's older brother we were 17 at the time, I suppose. Yeah, 17, and this was like his go-to at the time. And so when you're just like sneaking beers instead of it being Molson or Lion's Head or whatever, or Coors Light or whatever was in your dad's fridge, these guys were slinging us these, and man, I was like, this is wild that this can be beer. And so that was kind of, I remember that being a moment of just like, this is okay. There's a lot more out there, you know, there's something to explore.
This is true. Yeah. Your first time, I mean, for me and Dave, in fact, our guest last week was the same, would be Sam, Boston Lager was the, we'll call it the first, quote unquote craft, beer we ever had. But yeah, something like that. That's, I mean, I always say, I used to say it a lot, but I always say when the first time I had a really super hoppy, super resiny, super piney beer, I almost did a spit take, right? I'm like, what the hell am I drinking? Now just give me a handful of hops, I'll eat them.
Yeah, no, different ball game for sure. And I grew up then. My mom was really into. My dad's a bourbon drinker, but my mom loves hops.
That's great.
Awesome.
There was always a lot. There was a lot of Trogs around our house. So this is back with like Trogs Pale Ale and Hopback, and I drank a lot of Trogs Pale Ale when I was like 18 and 19 and 20. We would go. I went to Penn State, so we were at tailgates with our parents because they had season tickets.
That's awesome.
And our buddies were like, "Hey, you want to come to this frat tailgate?" And they had like boiled hot dogs and a keg of Keystone. I'm like, my parents have like shrimp tacos and Trogs beer. I think I'm going to go over there.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to go hang out with mom and dad. That's much better.
Was that the label?
Yeah.
That's it, huh?
It is Wild Goose. Okay, because Wild Goose.
Yeah, you remember
the canning line now, so that's what's in my head is. Yeah, it was that?
Yeah, you remember correctly.
Yeah, that's true. That you think about the canning line, and then you're
that's what. Yeah, I'm like, it can't be that.
I got to be confusing this, right? Yeah, yeah, that's pretty funny. That's awesome.
The second question we then ask everybody
is, go ahead.
Boxers or briefs?
Oh, jeez, it's not.
Boxer briefs, actually. Yeah.
That's right. There's a third option now.
There you go.
Or there's always commando.
There you go.
No.
That's not the second question. That's just Dave putting. That's not anyway. Anyway, all right. So So obviously at 17, you have Wild Goose IPA, right? And you're drinking it, the tailgates at Penn State and everything else. How did you decide you want to get into business? Obviously you were home brewing, right?
Yes. Then I was when I was 19. My brother's 5 years older than I am. He was up in Boston getting his PhD at Boston University, and he was homebrewing in his apartment. And I just thought I hadn't seen it, but he'd been telling me about it, and I was just really intrigued by it. I couldn't fathom how you could make beer and bottle it and have it be carbonated like all in your apartment. It just kind of blew my mind. So when I was 19, he bought me like your classic Northern Brewer 5-gallon kit,
sure,
glass carboy, 5-gallon bucket, all the little bottling, racking hoses, everything you needed, kind of like starter kit with a 5-gallon IPA all extract kit. And so I was joking with people that I was brewing beer and I was able to legally purchase all of the ingredients to make beer before I could legally buy beer. So I was 19 and then, did that for years. But I would, go and I'd ask my roommates, hey, what do you guys want to have on tap? And they would buy all the ingredients and I would brew the beer and then we'd hook it up, eventually started kegging pretty quickly. And so we hooked up with the kegerator and, I got pretty into it. So we were brewing pretty much once a week. Had a lot of 19, 20, 21. So a lot of people ready to drink. So a lot of times we would hook up a Sixtel and it would kick at a party that night. The entire batch of homebrew was gone. So we were ordering a lot. It was fun. But then I graduated from Penn State and got a job at a brewery as a bartender. And I was like kind of begging my way, like, hey, is there any way I could get some action in the back, like I just learn anything, and like they basically were just like, no, we're not interested. Just understandable. I had no experience at all. And then I went to a beer fest a few months later and asked like another brewery that was about 20 minutes up the road if they needed anybody, and he was like, yeah, come to the brewery on Monday morning at 8 a.m. And he's like, bring rubber boots, and so he did not pay me for the first 6 months. I had no experience. He kind of like, I washed kegs for 8 hours and then he'd let me follow him around for 8 hours in trade of like with a notepad, and kind of went the apprenticeship route. So then I moved to Lancaster after I had a little experience and was actually getting paid there. And that was like 11, 12 years ago. So kind of just like I wanted to get into the industry.
Right.
Thought opening a brewery would be cool someday, but I knew that I had no idea what I was doing. no idea how to run a business, let alone make the beer, on a professional scale. So had a decade of
Cutting
learning.
your teeth.
Yeah, exactly right. So
that's awesome. That's a great story. Where'd you wind up? How'd you bounce around? Where'd you go from to and briefly go over the 10 years,
Yeah, so I started at Elk Creek Cafe, which is a small 7-barrel system, about a half an hour from Penn State.
Right.
Focused a lot on English styles, really kind of classic. A lot of flagships, like not a ton of one-offy kind of stuff. Like, and they've really stuck to that even in the last 5 years, eight years when things have gotten really different, which I respect. And then moved to Lancaster and got a job at Lancaster Brewing Company for a short period of time. And then I left there to go to Springhouse, which is also in Lancaster. And I was at Springhouse for 5 years.
Okay.
At Springhouse, when I started writing the business plan for our town, just didn't feel right. Kind of the way they were growing and changing, I just felt like it was a good time for me to go. So I left and helped my friend open up a small cidery with a little 7-barrel cidery. And I worked there for about a year. Then I went to Mad Chef, which is in East Petersburg. Mad Chef, as I had at the time, had a 7-barrel brew house. They actually just started brewing on their 15 this week. But worked there for about 2.5 years. And I got hired there with them knowing that I was opening. So that just felt a lot more. It just felt better to me.
They were aware that you were at a certain point in time in the future you were leaving to
yeah, like the day they hired me, they knew I was going at some point to do my own thing, and they helped along the way with a lot of stuff. But yes, that was the path.
That's awesome. So how long ago did you open our town?
September of 2020. So it's been about a little over a year and a half.
Year and a half. Gotcha. And how did
you? COVID baby brewery.
I was going to say, how did you find your way? How'd you find it navigating through all those, COVID charted waters, to get open in September?
It was so we, everything shut down in like March. People always ask like, why would you guys open during this terrible time? And I was like, everything was like roughed out. The electric was done. The HVAC was done. It was like finishes that needed to be done. There was only like 8 weeks of construction left to do when everything shut down. So it was challenging. But then like once we got open, like once everything hit, I actually didn't want to open. So any delays that we had, it didn't bother me at all because I was like, the further away we can get from mid-March of 2020 is in my mind the better. Yeah. So
absolutely.
It was tough. Like definitely not a fun time to open a business, but at the same time we didn't know anything else, and I still don't know anything else. So it's not like I opened a brewery once in 2015, and I've never been on the ownership side of things before, and seeing all those new challenges. So, I mean, it's nice to not see hand sanitizer everywhere and masks everywhere, and it's nice that there are days that go by that we don't talk about COVID. That's nice because the first. at least year. every day. There's someone sick or a customer upset about something or something that pertained to sanitation and vaccines or masks or something. It just like felt so. It's not why we got into it. Obviously, like everyone has their own opinion, but it was. I'm like, man, I just can't wait till there can be strangers mingling, talking about beer. Like that's why we created this space was to like have this be a community gathering place. So it was really, really challenging. It's been nice to have it, mellow a little bit, and I hope it continues to trend in the way it's trending right now. So
yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm happy with that too. It seems to be trending in the right direction. You hear some reports here and there, like in New York, you're getting they're getting a lot of hotspots popping up again, and this and that, and they're requesting, some people are going back to masks or anything like that. They're not changing any mandates, or it's not like a lockdown or anything. But I'm hoping it's just isolated things that will fall by the wayside in a couple of weeks or a month or something like that. But that's obviously it's a big city too. It's
well, and I work in the city.
Mm-hmm. I am aware of that, Dave.
And I put the mask on when I walk through Herald Square, when I walk past Penn Station, and as I enter the Port Authority area, mm-hmm. because you are looking. There's people from all over the place. You don't know what's going on. So I do. Sure. I do put the mask on when I go through the heavily, because it's got the city filled right back up, and it's cram-packed again. So,
got you.
But I would love to be out in Lancaster where it's not as populated, mm-hmm. where it's little thinner in the population. You're not shoulder to shoulder walking down the street with somebody.
Oh, it's
Right, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it can be busy out there, but it's not anything like New
No.
York City. I mean, walking in Philly's nothing like New York City.
No.
Right. Yeah. No, that's and even like Lancaster, we always joke. I mean, like the name of our brewery is Our Town. It's not our city. Like it's
Right.
it is a mini city in a lot of ways, but I mean, it still feels very much like I've lived here for a little over 10 years, and I feel like I know so many people, and I grew up in a lot of small town. I grew up in Lewisburg, where Bucknell is, and then went to Penn State, and like all these places just that can be big. They still just feel so small once you get to know the community. You're like, okay, but it's just apples and oranges with Lancaster to a place like New York. Yeah.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
So our town is not named after the Thornton Wilder play.
It's not. Although we did that freshman year of high school, we put on Our Town at our school.
There you go.
So I get that question a lot from people when we first opened, and like every Saturday felt like a high school reunion. We were like, was it from Mr. Wheeler's English class? I was like, no.
Oh, you had a Mr. Wheeler too? We had a Mr. Wheeler.
Yeah.
He was a math teacher.
Mr. Wheeler. I didn't have a Mr. Wheeler. I did not.
He was something else.
Of course.
Good
So
way,
anyway.
bad way, or humorous way?
Exactly. So, all right. So you decide to open. All right. So you decide to open Our Town. Let's. So who's your now? There's another rumor has it there's another Rob, right?
Yeah. I always tell people it's sort of funny, and to me it's I guess funny until he tells me it's not funny anymore. I always tell when we're in meetings or an interview or something like that. I always joke. I'm like, oh, the Robs, who does what? And I'm like, I make the beer, and he does literally everything else. Like I when you zoom in a little beyond that, like I handle anything that is relating to the beer or the labels and cans and decisions and what we're gonna brew and what bars are gonna carry it and this and that. That's all on me, and I do some community engagement kind of stuff, some event planning. But I mean, other than that, like Rob's the GM. He is basically our head chef. He inventories all the food, does a lot of prep. He works kitchen, he works bar, he does some events. He does all the scheduling, he does all payroll, he does all the accounting, QuickBooks. So he is jack of all trades. So he's the man. He's what holds it together. I just make beer.
That's Rob Patz, right?
Yep. Yeah, we grew up together. I've known him since I was 5.
That's awesome. Wow. That's awesome. Ironically, it's funny you say that. The Matt just commented in. He's my one business partner. He's the brewmaster. He's the brewer, and our other business partner is my buddy Jim, who I grew up with. I've known him since I was 7 and he was 5.
Oh, awesome!
So
you know pretty well if it's going to work when you've known someone that long. I lived with
Exactly.
him in college too, and we've worked at other breweries together before. So
that's awesome. All right, let's talk about Our Town specifically, or whatever. I mean, the space what was the space?
So it's 99 years old. The building. It was a show. The space that we're in was a showroom floor. It was a Buick dealership.
Okay.
So it was a showroom floor. It has huge. I'm sure you remember, John. There's big, massive. I think there's 16 feet wide and 18 feet tall. The windows, and we have 4 of them.
Gotcha.
2 on the front and 2 on the side of the building. So like the whole space is just like really, really bright. Lots of indirect natural light coming in. And then we have 32-foot ceilings with like a hammered tin paneled ceiling. So it's a pretty unique space. And the walls are also, my sister's an interior designer, and she talked us into painting it that like teal color.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a pretty different feeling brewery space. Not to say that other people's designs aren't good. I just feel like there's some more common elements amongst other breweries, whether it be a more rustic feel or a more kind of industrial look. I think our space definitely has a more unique look to it.
It definitely does. I felt that the second I walked in. It was definitely different in there, but in a great way. It was very I don't want to use the word homey, but it was very inviting. It was very not that other breweries, like you said, not that an industrial type or rustic or anything like that. They're all can be inviting depending on, and that's a big part to the people too that are in there. And I found too, once we sat down, and obviously the space itself was inviting. Sit down at the bar, and whoever was the 2 that were bartending that day, I think it was we get the name right. It was Brian.
I think you were hanging out with Tony.
Tony, it was Tony. Yeah. Yeah. He they were, and there was a girl there too.
Yeah, was it a Sunday? Probably Tony and Grayson.
There you go. And they were great. Just talking beer back and forth, and it was a good time, and they were really knowledgeable and right on the ball too. So I had a great time there. So
Tony worked at Trogs for 8 years, so he knows his stuff.
This is for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. You get another beer there, Samurai?
What makes you think that? Just because Rob cracked one, and you think I cracked under peer pressure?
You leaned well.
Cracked.
Ooh, that looks lovely.
That looks really nice. What one's that?
This is a stout from Forest and Maine. Forest and Maine and Ambler.
Oh God, I love Forest and Maine.
Yeah, my brother lives like 10 minutes from there, so he visits us. I have 2 young kids. I have my son's 4 and my daughter's gonna be 2 in July.
Very nice.
So my brother, he's single, and so he likes coming to just visit and hang out for the weekend. So he comes like pretty much every other Saturday.
Nice.
And so he goes to Forest and Maine every Friday for happy hour, and he always hits me up with like the picture of the can list. He's like, what do you want? So I usually have about as much Forest and Maine beer in my fridge as I do our town beer.
Talk about a unique space.
Oh man, they nailed it. I tell you what, that was like our space, definitely is a little more modern, very clean looking. If I could like do it one other way, it would be Forest and Maine. Like that is the most. You feel like you're at like your parents' dining room. You're just like it. It's so damn cozy. Like they nailed it. Their beer's awesome. Their beer is really solid. They kind of avoid the foo stuff. Take it or leave it if you whatever. If you like that, cool. But they brew what I like to call real beer, and they do it really nice job. So
well, that's what Matt always says. He likes to brew beer flavored beer.
Yep. Yeah, I use it every once in a while when someone's busting my balls about not having not enough fruit in something or.
There's not enough fruit and lactose and marshmallow in your beer.
I'm not sure you actually like beer. Like I'm not talking down on you, but this is what you're describing is not beer.
I've had those same arguments about coffee.
Yeah, I drink black coffee.
Black,
I put a little half and half in it and a little bit of sugar, but still.
That's okay.
What most people get out of a
no pump bottles though.
No. Most people are walking away with from Starbucks like, no, you don't like coffee, you like dessert.
Yeah,
it's not
which is fine as long as you just know that, because then you can avoid an experience that, like that's the disappointing thing when we were talking English mild earlier, but you have someone that comes in and tries the English mild and they're like, I don't know, it's kind of thin. You're like, it's 3%, and they're like, I don't know, I like things that are really chocolatey, and I'm like, it's basically describing beers like a 9% lactose beer with like chocolate extract in it, and I'm like, that's fine if you like that, but that's just not what this is. Know
what you're drinking first.
Just yeah. So
that's great. Samurai, what are you drinking?
Well, I pulled out a Beaks.
Well,
you were going to go with something smoky.
Mm-hmm.
Carton.
From Carton Brewing, I believe, even.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so I decided to go with something. And just to aggravate Augie Carton, I put it in a This Week in Rausch beer glass.
Oh, there you go. You got the glass going.
So, cheers to John Hall for that.
Cheers to John Hall. We were John Hall was had dinner on Sunday night at CBC with John Hall. So we talked all about This Week in Rausch beer.
Did you? Talk to him?
What's that?
So I love their boat beer, Carton
Boat.
Oh, great, yeah. I may drink one of them. John knows my fridge is usually half full of boat.
I could drink 11 of those right now.
I don't know if you're on Untapped, or if you are on Untapped, if you spend a lot of time on Untapped or whatever, but I just want to let you know one thing. The person that has the most check-ins to boat beer is not Augie Carton. It's that man right there.
Because Augie told me I had to be, because he couldn't be the number one drinker of his own beer.
Do not say his name again, because I said it once and you said it once.
You said it once, yeah. You say it 3 times on the show, he magically
actually appears. Yeah, it's happened 3 times already, where if you say his name a 3rd time, for some reason he just winds up with the link and joins the show. So
I never met him. That wouldn't be the worst thing.
Wouldn't be the worst thing. So
you may change your mind afterwards.
No,
just kidding.
No, he wouldn't. Well, I'll drink a carton with you. I'm drinking Austin 1. So it's a smoked rustic lager. So
They're almost this. They're very close to the same beer.
They are very close to the same beer. This one, there's a little bit more smoked malt in this one than there is in the Beaks.
This one is a Grodziski. I don't even know how to say that. Grodziski.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Why the hell not? Grodziski.
Go with that.
Polish style smoked pilsner.
There you go.
That's going to be wild coming off of your New England there, John.
Yeah, it is. And then going to a Baltic Porter afterwards. So I'm all over the place tonight. So this is gonna be good.
Why do you think I started with the Tamavi?
It's gonna be a good test.
Start with the Pivo. Go to here.
Before and after check beer.
Exactly.
Yep. So. But I may actually drink a boat after this one. Not to bring it up.
This one, it's not that smoked. It's just light smoke. That's it. It's not heavy. It's not heavy smoked malt. It's just light enough. I mean, to the point where like Jess hates smoke. She can't stand anything smoked. Like she'll get her nose about 6 inches away from it, and whoa, no. She actually drank a little bit of this one. So, but there is smoke in it, but it's not. It's nice and subdued. It's nice. It's dialed back a little bit.
Do you do any smoked beers, Rob?
I haven't yet. I feel like I have like kind of PTSD from when I was at Springhouse. When we moved up to the larger facility, our brew house was 20 barrels, and we had 40 barrel fermenters, and so we frequently would just double batched everything, or then we had also had 100 barrel fermenters for our like production stuff. But like a pub batch was 40 barrels, and so like you'd yield like 78 halves of beer that we were having at the brewery in our tap room, and certain beers would just fly through 40 barrels, or at least would go in 2 months or whatever. We had smoked porter. It's a delicious smoked porter. We put it, but we had it on. Oh my god, it was like I think it was on for about a year. Same batch of beer, and it aged just fine. We did every single variant to it that you could possibly imagine to inject life back into it. So I have this like fear of if I do a smoked beer, I'll probably try to do a collab beer with someone who has like a 5-barrel brew house, and so I only get like 4 halves of it. And
there you go.
So that's what I like to do when we do like brewer beers, things that are fun, but I feel like they don't sell well.
Nice. Nice. Did you now do you how big a brew house do you have? We talking about
10.
You have a 10, right?
Yeah.
And 10s and 20s, or you got some 5s you can half batch into?
No, they're just straight 10. So I have 6 10-barrel fermenters and 2 brights.
Gotcha.
And given the, we're not as busy as I think we thought we would be due to like the business plan and projections being pre-COVID projections.
Right.
We're doing well. We're busy. The place is grooving. But even like some stuff, like 10 barrels is a little too much of certain things. And again, it's just more so in my own. The beer is fine. It's it's still. Say something's on tap for like 3.5 to 4 months. I like the velocity of a tap list just to feel. We have a ton of neighborhood locals come in a lot, and people always. It's just like a very much of like, what have you done for me lately kind of thing. Like, what's new?
Right.
What do you got? And so sometimes I'm a little jealous of these guys that have like smaller brew houses and they're chasing their tails. And a lot of those guys call me and ask me if they can brew on my system. Hey, can you fit a batch of beer in for me? I have no inventory over here. So I've gotten a little smarter about just trying to. Here and there, maybe I'll knock out 7 or 8 barrels instead of knocking out 11 and yielding 10 in the bright, stuff like that. So I'm playing around with it a little more, and just learning what people expect from us too. When I was at Springhouse, I was there for a lot of my career was there, and they do a lot of flavored stuff, and it's to each his own. But I got the reins on a couple of beers here and there over the years, and I remember I brewed like an English brown ale, and people were like, well, was there like hazelnuts in it or like, peanut butter or what? And I was like, no, it's like an English brown ale. It's like malt in it.
Tastes like beer.
Like that was malted in England. And it's just like, and that's not really their fault. Like they were so set up to have an experience that was mango IPA and pineapple pale ales and chocolate peanut butter stouts. And that's fine. But so we're trying to, we're so young that we're just still in that phase of like laying the base coat of what are we and what do you expect out of us and that kind of a thing. So it's interesting to see like the velocity of certain styles, and what moves and what doesn't based on kind of how do we set our customers up to what do they think they should be having at our town? You know what I mean? So
it's funny because I've seen breweries be successful going in two different directions. Either having that business model where you're riding the trends, you're brewing what's popular, what's going to sell. And then the other ones that have been successful are the ones that they brew what they love. And because they brew what they love, they're putting out something so high quality because they're not being forced to brew something that comes through in the product. Mm-hmm. So, and then maybe there's the ones that like do the half and half, because let's face it, you have to have an IPA on, you have to.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, people ask me all the time, they're like, what are you drinking? I'm like, honestly, like I really try to drink the whole board. Like, I mean, again, I have young kids. So like when we had the Baltic Porter on, like I'm not knocking those back here left and right. We have a Belgian triple on right now that's almost 11%. I'm proud of it. I think it's tasty. I will drink like a half of a flight pour of it here and there to make sure it's still, as it's, stays on tap for longer, you continue to taste things. But for the most part, like I just love beer. I mean, so there's times I sit down after work and have our Pilsner, which is kind of our bread and butter, but like I also sit down and have our brown ale. And then there's times where I want to have the Belgian wit and, and like really try, so when I go into a brewery, I mean, if they have balance, I love that. I just love, but I'll sit down sometimes and have our New England IPA because I think it's really tasty and that's what I'm in the mood for. So I think it's just fun to have balance and we have like a kind of a sub, sort of not a sub brand, like a side mark that's on our brand that says a brewery for everyone. And I always tell people, like, if you actually like beer, if I can't find you something on our list that you like, then like I'm doing something wrong.
Right.
So,
that's a good way to
and how many taps do you have?
We have 12.
Yeah, I mean your list was very very diverse, if you will. When I was sitting there, you had, again, like you said, something for everybody. There was from a Pilsner to a brown ale to the English mild. I think I told you I had 4 of them. It was the first beer I had, and it just went right down too. And I'm like, I need another one and another one. And
I stole from Forest and Maine putting that in the mug. I stole that from them. We initially were going to serve it in like an English, like kind of cast glass, and I saw they were serving it like mugs a mile, and I'm like, oh, I love that. And so we just started doing mugs a mile, and
that was so
people
good.
dig it.
Sat there, and then of course we had lunch there while we were too. By the way, I don't want that to fall by the wayside. The food's phenomenal, by the way.
Thanks. I'll tell the other Rob, man. He does. I think he's doing a great job.
Yeah.
It's not like, it's not high end, but I think he's just making it's interesting. It's different enough. It's comfortable and accessible,
very tasty.
but everything's super flavorful. Good.
Absolutely.
Thanks for saying that.
No, definitely.
What's your favorite thing on the menu there, Rob?
He just switched it up, and we just put on a smoked shredded pork belly BLT.
Oh.
On this like bread that we get that's basically 50-50 ciabatta 50 and like focaccia. So it has like rosemary on the outside, but it's like it's not like super thick either. Like it should, but then just that little leaf lettuce, tomato, simple aioli kind of thing. But man, it's good.
Dave, what are you doing tomorrow?
Working, unfortunately. I mean, I've got, maybe I cancel the plans this week and we go to Lancaster.
There you go. Take a ride out.
That's not too far out from what are those big gardens?
Longwood,
yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't been there in a while.
Yeah.
Great day trip. There's a ton of other. I know we're talking about our ton today, I guess, but I mean, we just formed a Brewers Guild. There's 25 breweries in the county in the guild.
Wow.
So we're climbing close to 30 breweries in Mike's County. So I mean, the beer tourism in the area is really, it's serious. I mean, people come into town and get an Airbnb and like hit up 8 to 10 breweries as if it's like, an Asheville type of experience. It's really cool. I'm really proud of it.
It was really cool. I mean, we stayed.
Awesome.
We actually stayed when we came out. We actually stayed in intercourse because we had to stay.
Right on.
We had to stay in intercourse.
Let's see.
I hope it rubbed off on you. Or you rubbed off on it.
All right, there you go. Right.
And that he didn't have to rub off later.
All right, that's going to be an intro. Hold on, let me write the time down here.
No, it's funny you brought up Asheville because we're going to be in Asheville in August. We have an Airbnb, and I've got it so centrally located. I counted within half a mile of where the Airbnb is. There's 22 breweries.
There you go.
Half a mile.
Half a mile.
Half a mile.
Wow.
See, I'm shocked. That's in
Not that
Asheville,
mile.
right? I'm shocked that there's only 22 breweries within a half a mile of Nashville. But
they actually do spread out a little bit, so it's really kind of hard to get more of a concentration than that.
there you go.
And we're 3 blocks from Burial, so
There you go.
yeah, so we're good.
No, I was going to say we stayed there, and we kind of did that. I mean, there's a few other things we did while we were out there too, but we definitely hit up a bunch of breweries. What's the one that just opened in Strasbourg not too long ago? With the,
Bespoke.
Bespoke.
Yeah,
I had
John's really nice too. He makes some really nice beer too. He's just like he is such a perfectionist.
I had a smoked rye Schwarzbier.
That's when you were talking about these smoked beers, I thought he brought it over to our spot and tried it. I was really impressed. We actually did it side by side with Suarez, and you almost couldn't tell them apart. I mean, they gave them to me blind, and I actually picked his over Suarez, and I love Suarez beers.
Oh, Suarez was a great.
Who doesn't? Yeah. My brother just shattered my Suarez glass this weekend. I just looked at him, I'm like, I just remembered that.
At least he brought you beer.
You would put it out of your mind for a couple. I just made you remember.
Yeah, maybe you brought me Forest and Maine. It's okay. Yeah,
there you go. He made it up for you. But yeah, no, that was great. The smoke rye Schwarzbier they had there, but and a few others they had there. Then we went around. I mean, we went by Springhouse, of course, and Lancaster Brewing, and we made up to Mad Chef. On the way, when we left, actually, on Monday, we were there Saturday and Monday. When we left on Monday, we headed up. We went to Mad Chef, and then we headed up to Troke before we, and had dinner up there, and then headed home. But
nice.
But yeah, what's the Columbia? They opened up. Was that Second Gear? The tap room they have in the.
Yep, Columbia Kettle Works. Yeah, they have a tap room location.
It's a cool little area that they have right there because the distillery's right there, and there's a couple of restaurants right in that little courtyard.
Super cool. Yeah, and that little Mexican place is the best tacos.
Yeah,
man. That's a cool little spot.
They were really good. Those tacos they were, yeah. But yeah, so it's got a cool vibe. I mean, right down in that whole area, right where you are, because you're not that far away from where they are either. You're only a couple blocks away, right?
Yeah, TKW's tap room is like a block and a half, and that distillery and Thistle Finch is another distillery in there, and they have a cool little pub with a kind of a high-end food menu that's just not super expensive. It's banging. It's in this old warehouse kind of built. You can definitely just absolutely do the whole day. My wife and I are just talking about getting away from the kids for a weekend, and we were like, oh, where should we go? Should we go this way? This way? We go to New York? Should we go to Finger? And we actually decided to do a staycation. We got a place in Lancaster.
There you go.
9 minutes from our home.
Home,
and because we're there's so many things here that we don't get to do often because with the kids in the business, and it's just crazy. So yeah, that's how much we love our town, and that we're actually just gonna do a staycation instead of going anywhere. So
and then what's the other what's the food the bar that's right? It's not too far from there either. It's if you go down to the corner that Second Gear, Columbia Kettle Works is at, and then you go east a couple blocks, and it's right back in there. It's I can't think of the damn name of it.
What do they do?
It's a restaurant bar. Crap, it's right by the market.
Oh, Dipco? Dispensing company?
Dipco. Yeah, dispensing company.
Yeah, that's great. That's like the Cheers of Lancaster.
Yeah, exactly.
It really is.
The one night we were down there, where everything else is closed and Dipco's there. And then we were at because we were by you on Sunday, but Saturday night we were by Second Gear, and then the bartender says, "Yeah, go over to Dipco. You'll get good food over there." So we went over there, and it was funny too. Because we walked in there, it was about a half an hour before they were calling last call, and I says, "Is it all right if we grab some food?" Yeah, he's like, "No problem." So we put an order in, and we sat there. We must have sat there for about an hour and a half. After last call, there were still people coming in, and he was still taking kitchen orders.
Sounds like Bradley. Yeah, I bet they're nice people. They have a great reputation. There's a reason that they're usually full.
There you go. So, but anyway, all right. Let's talk about a couple of your beers. Let's talk about. I mean, you mentioned a few of them. Let's what are some of your favorites, and then we'll expand from there.
I think it's my favorite. Just because we only have 2 flagship beers, we only had one until about 3 months ago. So, Proper Pils is our Czech Pilsner. Real simple from a recipe side, as far as just it's all German malt, all Saaz hops, 3470 lager yeast, super clean.
Yeah.
About 5%, and it's the beer. We've brewed more than other beers. It's my favorite style of beer. And so when we were going to open up and it was like, oh, we're going to have any flagships or none or 2 or 3 or 5 or what? I was just like, well, we're going to commit to this pills and like, we'll see where it goes. And so that's just been kind of our bread and butter. It's one that we always have in cans now and always have on draft. It's been on, I actually had about 4 hours 2 weeks ago that I was carbonating a batch and the last keg of the previous batch kicked. That was the first time it wasn't on tap.
Wow.
Well, since we opened, I was pretty pissed. And it was like dead too. It was a Friday and it was like in between lunch and dinner and it was just, there was like 6 people in the room. I'm like, this is unacceptable. Yeah, no, that's kind of my favorite. If I have, it's like picking your kids.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's like Sophie's Choice.
Yeah, but then our other flagship, it's called Press On. It's a 6% New England with Cryo Mosaic and Citra, and super orange juicy and awesome. And so that was actually the first beer we ever released. So kind of like what you guys with Coastal. Before we opened with the crazy times of COVID, we contacted St. Boniface, and they let us brew Press On their system. So we brewed a 15-barrel batch of it, and they canned it, and we set up across the street from where our brewery is now. And we had our brewery license approved on like a Thursday, and on Friday we pulled an exposition permit to sell 150 cases on the street on Saturday, and we sold all of them.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And it was just such a cool, I think like the name of the beer was very much tied to just the time that everyone was dealing with.
Sure.
Just kind of like, whatever's going on, just, like kind of press on and keep grooving. That was kind of our mantra for the business. And the beer, people just kept asking about the beer after we opened. They're like, how is this not going to be here? Where's Press On? It's like, well, it's gone. It was in cans. It's gone. Make it again. And I was like, nah, kind of like didn't want to do it again. It was like, felt special. And then it's like, all right, well, it's New England with Citra and Mosaics. We should probably brew this again. And then so we decided if we're going to do that, let's get some artwork and like give it a little mini rebrand and like commit to it. So those are the 2 that we have all the time. So that's kind of new to have 2 flagships for us. I'm dealing with, the new challenge of inventory of cans and blah, blah, blah. But outside of that, man, it's really just up to like what kind of mood I'm in for what we brew and what, every once in a while, like the other Rob was giving me a hard time about that English mild. I brewed an English mild and a Schwarz beer the same week, and he's like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Dave will tell you,
my favorite
I
styles.
find absolutely nothing wrong with
Not
that.
a thing wrong.
Yeah, Rob was blown away. He's like, "You really think we're gonna be able to sell?" And then like 2 weeks later, I brewed an English brown ale. He's like, "You gotta stop."
No, never
Yeah,
stop.
nope. And they're all selling just fine.
Yeah, that was good.
And depending on what mood you're in, that says the same for what your favorite child is.
That's right. Well, yeah, it kind of depends what mood they're in, really.
That's
more their
even
mood.
better. Yes, their mood.
Absolutely more their mood.
We'll see. Yeah, on what mood Mama's in upstairs too.
Oh my,
I'm actually in my basement. I mean, you probably can tell. It's like so.
oh, that's
I was
fine.
like, where can I be that the kids are not just gonna like jump in my lap and be like, Dada, what are you doing? I want to see what's going on there. So
We've had kids on the show before. More puppies than kids, but
More puppies than kids.
yeah, they're a little quieter. My son would have hoped on. He would have been singing for you guys. Yeah. So
Well, my baby, my son, he's 21. He's my baby. He'll be at the brewery helping me can beer number 2 tomorrow. So
that's awesome.
So he seemed okay with it. But
Yeah, I'm sure.
He's not working tomorrow. So I says, "You're not working tomorrow?" Yeah. He says, "You need my help?" Yes. All right, Dad. So he just knows he's going to leave with a 4-pack, so he's fine with that. So
Yeah. Hey, if you can continue to have your labor just be 4-pack, I think you guys will be successful.
exactly.
maybe I'm feeling sick. I may not make it into work.
You might not make it into work tomorrow. You might drive with the Crosstat.
I'm much closer to where you're canning than you are.
I guess it's going to take me an hour to get there. It takes you 10 minutes to get there. So,
Pretty much, yeah.
so anyway, cool. Yeah, you're. Look, I'm not blowing smoke up your ass by any means. Everything that I had there was spot on. It was fantastic, and I definitely have to get
Thanks,
back
man.
out there and have some more. I wouldn't mind.
Let me know when you're coming out.
Yeah, I definitely will.
Yeah, sit down in person and have a beer. Yeah.
I was actually at one point when you were talking, checking out Airbnbs in Lancaster.
There's some really, really like impressive ones that people have just bought old homes, flipped them, and they run them solely as a business right on our block, like a couple blocks up the street on Walnut. And I was
Really?
like, man, they're really, really nice. They all like
It's
Instagram pages and everything. I'm like, this is a wild subworld here.
And you're Walnut and what?
Prince.
Walnut and Prince.
Walnut and Prince.
There you go. Actually, what are you going to book it right now?
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull my wallet out here.
I've done worse stuff on the show.
Yes, you have. This is true. We had oh geez, what is it? Finkel and Garf Brewing out in Boulder, Colorado. This guy Jason, Josh. I'm sorry, Josh Safer. He used to be a Jersey beer guy. He was a beer manager for a couple bars. And he worked in the business, and he moved out to Denver. Probably at least 5 years ago, if not more. And he's one of the sales managers for Finkel and Garf. They're out of Boulder. They're probably like 4 or 5 blocks away from Avery. And we had him on the show. What, like 3 months ago, 2 months ago?
I have no track of time.
Somewhere like February or March, somewhere in there. And we got to figure out a way. Okay, hey, while he's on the show, I'm like, okay, we got to figure out a way to, get some of your beer here. Obviously, get some of your beer out this way. We need to taste it. He says, oh, you can do it legally. I'm like, how's that? He goes, what was it?
I don't remember.
Beerdrop.com.
Beerdrop. That's right.
Beerdrop.com. There's a lot of Colorado breweries that are on it. Wiley Roots is on it. A few others. Just go. They do 2-packs. And you just order them. $8, $9, $10, $12, whatever the beer is.
That's pretty cool.
2 cans in a 2-pack. Ship it. Boom, boom. So while we're talking, he's sitting there, not even talking. He's not even part of the conversation. He's ordering like $130 worth of beer.
Yes,
while we're doing the show.
I still have
very engaged.
I've still got like 2 cans left.
But I waited till after the show to do mine. He said, screw it, I'm doing it right now.
Yeah, I'm doing it right now.
So,
that's what's happening. Yeah,
exactly. Need my beer and eat it now.
Exactly. All right. So what event wise, you guys do any, have you done any events in the brewery, or have you participated in any, beer fests or whatever outside the brewery, or plan to coming up?
We've done a couple local brew fests. There's one up in Lidditz that's really good, as far as it's a good fest that's well curated from the beer side, and then also all the money's to charity. So like I'm pretty kind of jaded to beer fests, a bit from like my 12 or so years in the industry, and like either donating beer or like getting paid like very little for it. So like our business model just doesn't really allow for us to be like sending 2 half barrels for a $100 stipend and then like staffing it for the whole day. So We're pretty choosy about where we go from a beer fest side, but when it's for a good charity, like we're all over that. So the Lidditz Craft Brew Fest is a good one. I went to it last year. We're going again. We do a decent amount of live music at the brewery. I love live music, so it's something that like we try to program as hard as we can. And then we've done a decent amount of some charitable stuff as well. Different beers for Lancaster Pride. We have like a raspberry petite IPA is what we call them. Kind of coming up here for Pride Month. We've done beer for A Week Away, which is like another charity that does kind of pseudo like Make-A-Wish Foundation. So. We try to partner a bit with a lot of the some of the stuff in the community. People are just, as you guys know, breweries are just so different than like a bar or a restaurant, and that
Absolutely.
like the way that they can engage with the community and the way that they can really make an impact is pretty special. So we really try to do that as much as we can and as much as it kind of fits and works for us. But so we do a lot of like pint nights and stuff like that, and make some specialty patches of beer for some people in the area, which has been cool. So
that's awesome. Yeah, and get being good stewards of the community and engaging with the community and just really being part of it. That's honestly that I can't see any other way to do anything like that. I mean, even from a bar standpoint. A few bars like years ago, in former lives, if you will, I managed a couple bars, and we always were involved in the community. We did a bunch of stuff. So it was always something that was dear. And I grew up as a volunteer firefighter too. I grew up in the firehouse. My father was chief of the volunteer fire department the year I got on. But which
Yeah, it's something
like
that's
grew up
really
in Firehouse.
important
So
to us too.
the community aspect of it's always it's part of me. I grew up as that being part of me, so there's no way I can let it go. So that's so when I hear there's and most breweries do. I mean, I can't tell you one that off the top of my head that I can think of that really
It
isn't
does
at least to
nothing.
some
Yeah,
extent involved in
right.
their community.
I can actually think of one, but I'm not going to say it.
Well, I can too, but I wasn't going to say.
Crime and Punishment sponsors a local like 12-year-old baseball team, and they're called the Brewers.
Ah, that's awesome.
There you go.
Yeah, it's really neat. It's like an inner city team that just like needed money for like uniforms and equipment, and Crime and Punishment's like, we got you.
I'm glad they went that way with the name because there's so many other ways Crime and Punishment could go with names that would be really kind of depressing for a kid's baseball team.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. You don't want to
well, they're named after a Russian, drama novel, right?
Right. They're great guys there too. I mean, like I gotta tell you, Justin and I we're in Brewery Town. This is going back a bunch of years though, and we're doing a brewery crawl or whatever. When we get to Brewery Town and we go into Crime and Punishment, we park parking in Brewery Town is not all that easy.
No, it's not.
So we wound up parking probably
a little scary too.
A little bit, yeah. And we probably park like 6 blocks away. We walk to the brewery. We walk in. Doors open. There was a sign up front. We didn't read it. We walk in, and there were 2 seats right at the front of the corner of the bar. And the bartender walks over. He says, "Just want to let you know, there's a wedding going on right here. It's a private event." We're like, "Oh, I'm sorry. We'll leave." He goes, "No. Stay. Hang out."
What'd you like?
So. Yeah, he served us beers. He's like, and it was like, it was catered, but they did it was a buffet. He's like, go eat, go the bride room want you to eat. You join the party. We're like, are you kidding me? So we're there like 2 hours. We were part of the wedding.
That's great. Yeah, Mike and Mike are good guys.
Style.
So it was pretty cool. It was a good day there, but yeah. So there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, like you talk about beer fests. AC's coming up, Atlantic City Beer Fest. That's, I guess, technically it's the second biggest beer fest in the country right now. Behind
I was
GABF.
at that one year. Yeah, I poured for Springhouse there. It's just wild. It was just like such a different scale.
It's gotten even bigger too because it's not in the convention center anymore. It's in it's on Bader Field, which is an old airport in Atlantic City. Bless you.
Dang.
Which is an old airport in Atlantic City, and it's all outdoors. So the tents are spread out a little bit, the booths and everything else. But I think there's I'll get it.
It's catching, apparently. Wow. I didn't think you could spread it across the interwebs.
Yeah, I didn't think that was weird that happened that way.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't think either of us have ever sneezed on this show.
That's before. The first time I think either of us have sneezed on the show.
I don't know how you do that silent sneeze thing. I've never been able to do that.
It's called mute.
It's called the mute button, right?
Is that what you did? Oh, I literally thought you just killed it. Oh, I didn't even see that. I have some buddies do that little just hold it all in. I'm like, dude, your eyes are gonna pop out or something.
My head will explode if I did that.
Yeah.
I'm going out here to the beer fridge. Be right back.
There you go. But actually, so it's spread out a little bit. Right now, I think there's 130 or 140 breweries coming this year, maybe a little more. But it's all outdoors, and it's the Atlantic City Beer and Music Festival too. So there's like 2 bands per day.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of music.
It's a lot of music. It's a pretty cool event, and it's only 2 sessions this year. They're just doing a day on Saturday and day on Sunday daytime. So it's interesting. But
yeah, better have Monday off.
Yeah, well, I'll have to call my boss and ask him if I could take off.
Your boss is a bit of an asshole.
Yeah, he is. I can't stand him sometimes. But in any event,
picture the boat.
You got it. Oh, you're having a boat, are you?
Yeah. Well, he talked me into it.
I'm shocked that somebody actually talked you into having a boat.
All he did was mention
it. Never happens. All you have to do is say the word boat, even if you're not referring to a beer, and he'll have.
Yeah, he just cracks one. Yeah,
usually I'll crack one open.
I'm in on that. That's cool.
Exactly. So, all right. Hey, should we get to our top 3?
Let's do that.
When we do our top 3, let's do this right now. Put it up. Okay. Then, like we always tell everybody, anybody that's normally watching or normally listening knows that
nobody who's normal watches.
No, this is true. I said normally watching, not normal people.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We do a top 3 list because we actually started when we first started this podcast. This is show 85, by the way. So
Really?
another 15 shows will be at 100. Yes.
We haven't killed each other yet?
Not yet. No. But we've known each other a lot longer than that. So I mean, that was probably the first sign. But anyway, so when we first started, it was a few weeks before we actually started guests, which I think was around show 9. And we started doing a top 3 list. Well, first reason was we did a top 3 list because top 10 would take way too long. And Dave and I usually get 6 into our top 3s anyway, normally. With a couple of honorable mentions. We can't just
hey, how about 6?
You have it 6?
There you go. 6.
And then also, but the main reason is because 1933, repeal prohibition. So that's why we do top 3s. So anyway, this week's top 3 is top 3 favorite English mild ales. Top 3 favorite English mild ales. Obviously, you've been listening to the show this whole time. You know damn well we talked about it probably several times already about the delicious English mild that Rob brews. So let's kick off this week's top 3 with Rob and your top 3. Anyway.
Sure. So not a style that at least it's not heavily brewed in the local beer scene around here, I'll say.
It's not heavily brewed around here either, and I wish it was.
No.
Yeah, and so I kind of I thought about it a little bit, and I've had a handful lately, but I thought what I had to put in, and these aren't really in order necessarily, but I had to at least name Brawler because I'm blown away that Yards could make a business model that doesn't really go into it as a mild. They don't sell it as a mild; they just sell it as Brawler. It's a damn good beer, and
it's a pugilist ale. I think.
It's my favorite Yards beer, actually.
Yeah,
and it's solid beer, and it just really checks that box for it's what I love about English mild is that it's malty, but it's mellow and it's sessionable, and it's not sweet. And so I was always the sales guy from Yards had worked with us at Springhouse when he left Yards for a little while, and I was so floored by it. I was like, how the hell it's their number one selling beer. Like it's not another 3 or 4. Like people are like, oh, Cape of Good Hope, but no, man, it's like Brawler. It's crazy.
That doesn't surprise me.
So clearly people like to drink them. They just don't know they like to drink them. But anyways, right. So and then 2 that I thought were more interesting. One was more bizarre but interesting and still tasty was Forest and Main put out a Fooder fermented mild.
Oh, interesting.
And it was
Clemeny. I need that.
Yeah.
And it's just literally called mild. Like they just have like different colors for them, but I think they just call them all mild. They brew different ones every year for their March mildness, which is so awesome.
I like that.
And but so my brother brought me their like first mild they put out this year. It was solid, on point. But then he brought the next week like they had canned a food. It was such a unique take on the beer, really on the style, because it had still had that nice like slightly kind of roasted nutty quality to it, but then like it was dry oaky finish all day, and it was pretty interesting.
Nice.
So if that's still around, just because it's a little more bizarre, I wouldn't be surprised if they still had a little of that. You guys should try to get your hands on some. And then the last one is part of the reason I even brewed it and kind of got back on my radar is Cartel Brewing, which is like 6 blocks up the road from us. Mm-hmm. I'll give him a little shout out. He has, I think, two house beers. He has like a beer that's like an IPA, and then his other like house beer is maybe he has 3. He does like a cream ale. But then he also does an English mild called Public, and it's damn good. It's not a dark mild like mine. It's just it's more of that like kind of mahogany, that really pretty like crystal clear deep brown color. But it's on point. It got me kind of back into the style and excited about it, and then it's the reason I brewed mine. So I thought it was worth noting.
Nice. Yeah, I stepped up and saw those guys when we were out there too. In fact, I walked in and started talking to a guy, and he says, "Oh, you're from Jersey?" He says, "You guys know Jason from Icarus?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know Jay for years." He says he was just here yesterday. They were going out to I'll think of it. They were going out somewhere to do a collab, and on the way out they stopped at Cartel. They just got off the highway, stopped at Cartel, and got right back on and kept going.
Oh, that's cool.
But I'll think of where they were
going.
Gone
6 more blocks, those bastards.
We'll yell at them for you.
Exactly. I will tell Jay you said so. But anyway, all right, Samurai.
I'm trying to figure out how to pare this list down a little bit, but well, one, I've got to. We mentioned Crime and Punishment earlier. They make a mile called Underfoot.
Okay.
That was it's spot on. Most of these, I mean, what can you say about a mild? You're not going to like really rave about all the flavors in a mild. It's a mild. It's spot on. It's got to be bought to that style for it to be a great mild. So I'm not going to really. If I rave about it at all, it's because it is what it was supposed to be. And Underfoot was exactly what it was supposed to be. So get that one in for Pennsylvania. I'll throw one in for New York. Fifth Hammer does one called Footwork. Mm-hmm. It's interesting that they both mentioned foot.
Yeah, right.
I'm trying to figure out how those come into it. And then we also mentioned Atlantic City. So I got the Seed does one. What is it? It's called Stay a While. That's a great one. But I think one of the best ones I've ever had, because I've never been out to England and drank milds sitting in a pub in England. Mm-hmm. The closest I've come to doing that, geographically as well, was when I was in Italy, Urban Farmhouse.
Okay.
They had export mild from Garnet Brewing. Garnet Brewing's in Manchester, England. And so you'd expect that to be good. And my God, that was good. I would have sat there and drank that all day if it wasn't for the fact that their beer list and their bottles and their cans, I just had to try as much as I possibly could there because it's stuff that you can't get here. So, even though I usually don't do a 3-2-1, I didn't do a 3 and 2, but that's number one right there.
There you go. So you actually gave me 4. So what order are they in?
No, the other 2 are 2, 3, and 4. No order.
2, 3, and 4. No order.
No order in those 3.
No order in those 3, but the Garnet Brewing is the number 1.
Yes, that was an amazing beer.
Fair enough. All right. Mine are not pretty easy. Well, I'm going to mention an honorable mention because it actually was on my honorable mention list, but it's going to stay honorable mention obviously because Rob mentioned it already. Yards Brawler is pretty tasty right there. But my top 3 right now at the moment. My top 3, and I want to foreshadow this by not foreshadow. I want to make mention of this, and I don't think we mentioned it to you, Rob. And whenever we have this, whenever we have a list that involves the brewery that's on, we kind of, at least Dave and I, we always say top 3 favorite English milds not brewed by our town brewery.
Sure.
So yeah, even if we're talking to another brewery. Top 3 favorite IPAs not brewed by our town brewery. Every time.
It's always you.
So it's always the caveat. You're never going to be included in any list.
Not going to be in any top 3 ever.
Exactly. But anyway, so I will throw an honorable mention there since we didn't even talk about the fact that other than the fact that I said I had 4 of them while I was sitting there when I first walked in. I kind of think that goes without saying. Would be your mild as well, but. My top 3 are this. From Bradley Brew Project in Bradley Beach, right over here in Jersey, down the shore. For me, it's right over here. It's that way.
Literally 8 minutes away.
Literally, not even. Kane is 8 minutes away from me. Bradley Brew Project is literally 4 minutes away from me. With no lights. If I make every light, I'm there in 4 minutes. What's Happening, My Sister? That's the name of the beer. I didn't name it. Mike did, but in any event, but it's a pretty terrific English mild. But the aforementioned Tonewood we were talking about before, EMD.
Oh, such a good beer.
Such a good beer. In fact, I think I had it a couple weeks ago on the show.
I think you did.
I think I did.
And I had it a few weeks ago down at the brewery.
I had it at the brewery, bought a 4-pack, and then had it on the show. So, and then my number 1, and has been since I had it last year, and bought a couple of 4-packs when I brought it back, from Grist House out in Pittsburgh, London Crawling. That was a pretty tasty one.
It's been mentioned a few times in the show.
Yeah. So, I don't know if you have you had anything much from Grist House? Have you gone out there, Rob?
I have not been out there. I've had some of their beer though. It's one of the beautiful kind of unsung parts of owning a brewery is people just drop you beer all the time.
Absolutely.
It's almost hard to keep up with. If I'm being totally honest.
It's a beautiful thing. No, it's hard.
Yeah,
it is.
Where the
But
hell
yeah,
did this come from?
they're making some good beer out there, and that
Yeah.
London Crawling was very, very tasty when it was out there. So, yeah, there you go. Those are my top three right there. So,
It's funny when I bring beer to a brewery,
mhm.
I'm usually bringing this. So they're like, people have heard of this beer, so they're like, oh yeah, we'll take that. Because there's times where I've brought other beer to breweries, and they're like, yeah, okay, fine, thanks. That they tend to get excited about.
Well, you just got some of that to Starodumsky.
Got it to Starodumsky, who put it up on Honest Craft Beer Reviews.
Mm-hmm.
It appeared he liked it.
Mm-hmm. It looks like he did.
Yes.
Yes.
And I also spread this across northeastern Italy.
Yes, you did. You brought that with you.
Well, if you ever make it to our brewery, you better bring some flipping boat.
We'll definitely bring some boat. That's for
Absolutely will.
We
Yeah,
can't get it here, so
sure. I got to get out there. I'll if Dave wants to come along with us, I got to get Matt out there. That we have to get out there and have a couple beers. We'll bring some stuff out. We'll bring some ours, and we'll definitely bring some boat. Or you know what? We'll bring ours. Dave can come with us, and he can bring the boat.
Yes, I will bring the boat.
I'll do it like that.
I will bring the boat.
There you go.
I'll hitch it to the back of the car.
There you go. Well, you have enough of it that you can actually do that. So
Probably.
there you go.
I don't know. I'll track it down pretty good.
Anything coming up in the near future, or future plans for the brewery, or any expansion thought? I mean, you're a year and a half in, so I don't think you're talking expansion at the moment. But
yeah, we're usually just talking about treading water.
exactly.
It's just can everybody please show up to work today? Is usually what we're. Is everybody not sick? No, yeah. So we have some stuff going on. Kind of expanded a little bit the wholesale game, doing a little more canning.
How far out are you sending out beer out of distro wise?
As far as my Ford Escape can drive, John. I'm serious. I don't have an assistant brewer. I make the beer. I keg it, carb it. I lift it by myself in the back of, unless Pat's is there, then he helps me. Yeah. Chuck it in the back of my Ford Escape. I can take 3 halves at a time, and most of it's right around Lancaster City.
Sure.
So yeah, our distro goal is certainly we have monetary goals and barrelage goals and whatnot, but a lot of it's really just to get in great local places that we think will have a pint of our beer, and then they'll walk 3 more blocks and then not knowing when we're there. So that's it's more of a marketing reach, really.
Are you are you packaging anything? Are you doing any mobile canning or?
We have a single head.
You do
canning, yeah. So we usually do 30 to 45 case runs of the pills and press on, and then we usually have some other lager in cans and something else hoppy in cans is generally so we did a New Zealand pills that we just sold out of, I think, yesterday. And I have a summer lager that's going to be canned in a few weeks. And then that clarity is in cans. And so we would try to not overload the cans and keep the inventory low. And
sure.
Our whole thing is really to still be a pub brewery. You know what I mean? So the cans Crowlers just slowed down and stopped selling for us. I think just the customer expectation became what the hell is a crowler? I want a 4-pack, and it's when people go, no, you can get a crowler, and they're like, I'm good. And now people just come in. We have a little display cooler, and they just grab it and pay and leave, and we're selling a lot more beer that way. So margin's not as good, but it's a volume play. So, but just kind of leaning into that, learning that, and just kind of staying after it, trying to continue to expand the business and have people know that we're there and keep making great beer. So
that's the thing to do. Just keep getting the good beer out in front of people and having them love it and keep coming back. That's the number one goal. So.
Yeah, for sure. So it sounds simple, but that's
very easy on paper.
Yeah, we don't. But for the moment, for real, we don't have big, not this and that or new market or new. But it's just kind of keep after it. We're so young that people just just kind of keep firming up that reputation. So,
gotcha. Cool. All right. Well, best of luck to you. We'll definitely get out there soon.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
And when I say soon, I don't mean later this year. I mean soon, maybe the next month or two.
Yeah, like I said, just definitely hit me up, and you guys give me a little heads up. I had the two rug rats, so it's always a little bit of heads up is always nice.
I know exactly where you're coming from. Been there, done that. So is Dave.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd much rather head west during the summer and stay away from the shore.
Yeah, and
there you go.
So absolutely,
we'll take it.
I live at the shore, so I don't have much of a choice but to be at the shore. So,
used to live down there. Oh, summer sucks down there.
Yeah, and I'm literally between halfway between 4 and 5 blocks from the beach, so it sucks here in the summer.
My
So,
parents
but you
live in
get
Ocean City, New Jersey, so yeah, it's
same thing.
You know,
You get used
Yeah.
to it, you know. We basically, if you're not, if we're going to park on the street, especially if somebody coming down, right? Because we want the driveway for them, right? So,
Oh yeah,
so we want
it's
to park on the
it's
street.
such a game. Yeah.
We need to park on the street by
6
somewhere between 4 and 5 on Friday, or we're not parking anywhere near our house until Sunday night.
It's madness. Yeah, that's just so silly.
But it's what it
That's
is.
what it is. Yeah,
You get used to it.
and it brings money into the shore towns.
Right, exactly. So it works for everybody here. So
That's
it's
all
fine.
part of it. Yeah.
Exactly. So, all right. Well, once again, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I'm glad,
Yeah. Thanks
so
for
glad-
having me, guys.
So glad we had you on. We'll get
Yeah.
out there and we'll definitely hit you up before we come out and let you know. Give you advance warning before
Yeah.
we make our way out there.
Yeah, even if we come out separately, depending upon our schedules, John's and mine tends to very rarely merge. John and I have seen each other twice in the past couple of years, 3 times the past couple of years. One because we did a beer dinner that we hosted with these guys.
Right.
Once was because we did on National Lager Day, we did a live feed from Source Brewing,
Mhm.
and the other time,
Well, it's in the last year, not last couple of years. In the last year.
last year, and the other time was we had to meet up in Maine to exchange beer.
we were in
critical.
Portland, Maine at the same time, so it worked out.
It's critical.
And it was the first time we'd seen each other since I think the pandemic started, wasn't it?
No, it was February at Melavino.
Ah, right. I forgot about Melavino.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
That was the first time since the pandemic started.
Mm-hmm.
So technically in the last 2.5 years, we've seen each other 4 times.
4 times.
Every week we see each other on this, but
Yeah. in the same
in
place
person at
as
the
what-
same time 4 times.
But next week
Next week.
we'll be in the same place.
We'll be in the same place because next week's podcast is going to be live from basically from Dave's phone.
We're going to do it from my phone.
We're going to do it from your phone. Yes.
How are you going to launch the link?
I'll give it to you. You'll click it. I'll click it on your phone for you. How's that?
There we go. Click on my
There
phone.
you go. We actually have our first launch event on Tuesday next week. So the podcast is going to be Dave walking around the launch event talking to people.
It's going to be a stupid show.
It'll be a stupid show. So should be good. And by the time we start it at 6:30, the launch event starts at 4. So Matt and I will be pretty tuned up by the time he.
Yeah, you'll be all right.
starts.
And all of our friends will be probably most of the fodder that I will have for this show.
Pretty much. The more of them they'll be on more than we will. So.
Yes.
But anyway, so all right. Again, thanks for coming on. Sit tight. We'll talk to you in a second. Let me just do the outro.
Right on. Thanks a lot, guys.
You got it. Appreciate you coming on. We'll wrap the show up at that point for today. We want to thank everybody for watching. And for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.lagerroom.com. That's LAGERROOM.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our YouTube channel. All of them are at The Lager Room. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Tuesday night around 6:30 or so Eastern Time. For those of you who just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, and iHeartRadio as well. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you will never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Rob, once again, thanks for coming on. Best of luck to you and Rob, Pat's out there, and everybody else as well.
And to all Robs everywhere.
And to all Robs everywhere. And we will definitely get out to see you soon. But on that note, have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. Drink a lot of beer, but drink responsibly. And we will talk to you soon, folks. Take care. Cheers.
Cheers.